Hey there, Danny.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Looks like we're about to get started soon. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hopefully, everything's good with the sound. Danny, thanks again for swinging by and getting ready to present a wonderful demo from Crossmint. I'm personally excited. We'll start with introductions. I'm Rams, here, Senior Marketing um, Agent for iStar Network, and I've personally used Crossmint extensively for our last campaign for our ZK EVM chain. So go ahead, Danny.
Awesome. Yeah, so great for, I appreciate you having Crossmint show up to join and show some of our tools. We've been looking forward to getting Astar added and getting involved in the Asia Pacific region in blockchain. And so, Astar is a big part of that. So as you can probably see somewhere, I'm sure it shows my name. I'm Danny Mulvihill. I do developer relations at Crossmint. So my background is software engineering, and now I'm sort of in this new hybrid role that I really love, where I get to not get paged in the middle of the night when things break and talk to developers about, the kind of stuff that we're building. Because back when I was more doing the dev work, I really loved these type of things. And so it's exciting to get to do it now. So whenever you're ready, Roms, we can just jump right in. I got a quick, probably 10 to 15 minute demo, and then we'll have some time for Q&A to answer any questions.
Perfect. Yeah, I say we go right into it. Everything is
Awesome.
live and going. So yeah, go ahead. Take the stage, Danny.
All right, so I will share my screen. Let's go entire screen so that we don't got to be switching back and forth and stuff like that. Let me get that out of the way. All right, so can you see my screen yet? There it is. All right, cool. All right, so right here, I'm in the Crossmint developer console. I guess real quick, it's worth calling out that we have a staging and a production console. So I always recommend that devs start out in the staging environment. And the key thing here is that anything you do here will point at test nets. So pretty much all the features are enabled and it's free to use. There's test credit cards you can use, and we'll see that in a second for NFT checkout. So typically you want to start your project on staging. And then when you got everything dialed in and you're happy with how it's working, then move things to production where you can start spending some money. So this is just the dashboard. And what we're going to do is start with creating an API key so that we can then very easily deploy an NFT contract on the zKyoto network. So I'll expand this developers drop down and select API keys. And then for this, I'm going to create a server-side API key, which is required for collection creation. We also have, as you can see, client-side keys, which are used for some other tools. And maybe we'll get a chance to talk about those a little bit later in this call. So I'm going to go ahead and enable this wallets one so I can show something there later. And then we're going to expand the minting API options. We want to mint. I'll just turn on most of these. I don't think we're going to get through every single one of them. But for sure, the most important one is the create collection and the mint NFTs scopes. So we'll create the server key. All right. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy that. And then I'm actually going to go to our docs to show you how this works. I'm going to, I prefer dark screens, but I just got so used to looking at our docs with the light background that I'm going to switch it back. Okay, so notice that I just switched to the API reference tab here at the top, and you can test all of our APIs right here in the browser, and it makes it super simple. And then also you can, get code snippets so that once you got things dialed in, you can just quickly grab the code that you want to use to, run that in your actual application. So I'm going to start by creating a collection. So I'm down here in the create collection endpoint, and I need to add my API key. And then let's go ahead and set up the request. So we're going to be deploying this to the zKyoto network, and we'll call this Astar Demo. Let me grab my image URL. So I played around with Midjourney for a little bit yesterday, and here I'll show you what this image looks like. I basically, use the blend command to blend the two logos, and this is the best one that came out. So let me fix that URL there. And we'll just call this Demo Day NFT. Symbol is optional. We'll give it one anyways. So this fungibility property here, this will basically swap between basically an ERC 721 versus an 1155. And we'll go with the NFT version. So ERC 721. Supply limit. So the way this works is you can set an upper limit on the entire collection, but then a few steps from now, we'll be setting up the NFTs, and then you can also set up a sort of a sub limit within there. So I'm just going to say 1,000 right here. We'll set up a price. I always go with really low prices just to mainly it helps preserve our testnet tokens. It's kind of selfish, but on staging when you're working with Crossmint products, I recommend you start with low prices because there are pretty strict limits. I think it's $100. So if you try to, do test NFTs for 1 ETH, it's definitely not going to work. So just start out with low pricing here. Let me jump over to a different browser so I can grab a wallet address. Oops. And of course, I got logged out of my wallet. There we go. Okay, so what's going on here is this is the recipient address where when people buy the NFTs, this is the wallet that will be paid out. And we'll go ahead and no need to re-upload that file. So what this means is, do you want Crossmint to re-upload this file to IPFS for you? Notice I'm using my Pinata account. And so there, in my opinion, there's not really any need for that. And so I'll just say that we do not need to re-upload that file. So now I'm ready to create a collection. I'll go ahead and submit that API call. And then in a second, what I'll get back is a collection ID. All right, so and that's this right here. We'll kind of browse through the response that we got back real quick. So it's basically we're returning, most of the stuff that we filled out there. I could also use this action ID to go and check on the status of this. So this is actually deploying a contract on chain. And so there's, a short limit to that. If I were to check this now, it would probably already be deployed. So we're not going to go ahead and do that. And so now I have the collection ID. And what we'll do now is actually I'll go to the collections tab within the console. And we'll see this is that collection I just deployed. The collection ID is the same right there. So with that set up, let's go ahead and we'll just manually, actually, we got to create the template. So I'll open this collection. And now, so we have a collection created, but what we need to do now is set up the metadata for an actual NFT to be minted. And we'll kind of set this up like an open edition style where the NFT is the same metadata for everybody. I'll just set that unlimited. Note that I did set an upper limit of 1,000 when I created the collection. So this would max out at 1,000 here. And let's go ahead and upload that same image. All right. Okay, so now we're actually ready to mint some NFTs. You can test it right here in the console by just clicking these 3 dots, mint and send, and I can send it to an email address, or I could also just directly put in a wallet address. Oh, that's actually a collection ID. So let's just do my email, and we'll talk about what's happening here. So when you mint to an email address, essentially what Crossmint does is we'll create a custodial wallet for that user that is tied to your specific project. And this is done largely for privacy so that if you are minting, you have customers that are showing up with emails and maybe they don't have wallets, they're more Web 2 savvy customers. You can create these wallets for them, but then it's a unique wallet to your project. And so by project, I essentially mean, it's tied with this project ID here. And if they were to go mint a different NFT, like say during on-chain summer, which is coming up in a few weeks here, they would get a different wallet address for that. And this just prevents people from sort of being able to track them across multiple projects. And it enables lots of other cool things. Like we have some tools that let you authenticate users into your application using their email address, and then you can sort of token gate on the NFTs within their Crossmint wallets and things like that. But of course, a lot of you are building things where the users are showing up with wallets. They're already, crypto savvy. And so you can just use that same protocol and mint to an actual wallet address. So now let's go ahead and let's see here. Let's look at this on the Block Explorer. So I forgot here we go. And let me check. Here's how we'll do it. We'll take a look at the smart contract address, and we can look that up on the block scanner. And so yeah, these are a little tricky. So we're actually minting from like a bundler contract, and so a lot of times they don't show up under this transactions tab. Let's proceed to move on, and then I'll show you a better way that we can easily check this out in the block scanner. So one thing I wanted to talk about real quick is, so we use the API to deploy a collection. Maybe you already have a collection, like you like to write custom contracts, or you're using another third-party tool. You can also register those contracts within Crossmint. So like if I came back, I can create a new collection. We'll just say test real quick to get to the next screen. And I can import an existing contract. And then from here, let me click the next button. And then you just select the Z Kyoto testnet right here to be able to import really any NFT contract and be able to use that here. So let's go ahead and back out of this. And we'll get back on this one. All right, so now let me show you how you can like super easily set up one of our tools that lets people purchase your NFTs with a credit card. So I'll start by grabbing this project ID down here. And then I have this super simple, so this is the vanilla JS version of the package. And I always like to start here just to show how incredibly simple it is to set this up. And I already have the price set. If your mint function had extra parameters that you needed to pass to it, you just put those in here. Like say you had a custom one and quantity was an option, you'd put that right here. And total price would need to be the price per NFT multiplied by quantity. But this contract does not have that, so I'll just leave it as is. And now I will open this real quickly just in my browser. So right here. And so what that code that we're looking at right here, this basically just renders a button. And so we can see that's what's going on here. So this is like a button you could add to your minting website or something like that. And then they click it. And just like that, they can buy your NFT with a credit card. So you could sell NFTs to your grandma or your aunt or whatever who supports every one of your ideas. There's also cross-chain payments. So they could connect a wallet, pay with, mainnet Solana or Ethereum on a variety of chains, things like that. We'll go ahead and go with the credit card checkout. And like I said, towards the beginning, there's a variety of test credit cards you can use. Almost always you'll be using this 4242 card because that's just like the standard approval. If you want to test, weird edge cases like declines and things like that, then we have on our docs page, you can get a whole list of credit cards. And these are the same credit cards that Stripe uses. So you can get the list. And, if you want to create specific error conditions to like test out your whole app end to end. And so what's happening now? So basically the customer they're paying Crossmint with their credit card. We're running it through all sorts of, sophisticated anti-fraud stuff to make sure that things look good. And then we're actually minting directly against your contract. And so, if you had registered a third party or a custom contract, we'd be sending the ETH directly to that. And it, for the most part, it would just like a normal transaction. And you would have the ETH in your contract instantly. The customer has their NFT fulfilled without really needing to think too hard about anything. And then they could then log into Crossmint's web application to view the NFT and then transfer it out of there if they do have a wallet. You can also, here, I'll switch back to this real quick. You can add another property here where this is just a wallet address. And in that case, you could mint directly to a wallet instead of to an email custodial wallet. So we'll give this just another few seconds to finish up. And if it's too slow, we'll move on to the next step. I guess another thing I'll call out is that there's also a React version of this package, which would typically be what you would use in your project. I just like to start with the vanilla.js version to show like how dead simple it is to get something going. And then, all right, so we'll let that finish. We'll kind of come back to that. Let me pause there for a second and see, do we want to like do any quick questions, or I think we'll just cruise on through and I'll show you the next part. Yeah, so let's jump into another checkout tool we have, which is the embedded NFT checkout. So this is kind of what we call hosted or pay button. And then there's also a version where it's a little bit more sophisticated. So you can listen to events, and it lets you build a little bit more, fine-tuned UI and user experience. So let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to go grab those same values. So I need project ID and collection ID. I'll just save these into some environment variables. And all right. And then those will be pulled into the component. Notice the component name is just slightly different. This is the Crossmint payment element versus the Crossmint pay button. And this is what will build the embedded checkout. And so let me, looks like it's already running. All right, so basic little React application. And just by way of putting in the project ID and the collection ID, this will be tied to your specific project. I am using Google Chrome browser right now, and so Google Pay is enabled. If I were to open this same link in Safari, then Apple Pay would be enabled up here. Or if I was like on my iPhone using Safari, same thing there. Oh, and I just noticed the email that my purchase went through. So, okay, so I'll go ahead and close this. But I got the confirmation that that went through. Now let me show you what embedded checkout looks like. So the main difference here, I'll call it out real quick, is this is like a button that sits on your website. And when you click it, notice that it's actually opening a new window. And which in a lot of cases is fine. But if you want to have more control over the situation, that's where you might want to switch to embedded. Notice that this is just like embedded directly into the site. It is iframed in there, but will return events to you, kind of telling what's going on through the process. So let me grab this test credit card number. You can put any values here. And let's grab this test email address. And so what I was saying is like any valid expiration, CVC, zip code will work here. All right, so let's go ahead and make this purchase. And I can show you, I have an example that does a little bit more. Let me clear this. Okay, so we're listening to the events. This code it's not logging very many of them. So there we go. So we got the process started. And so you can sort of hook into these to know what's going on. There's also a fair amount of, like something didn't work events so that you can present the user with the right experience so that they can, get through that whole process. So we'll let this finish up. Let me check my notes here. Yeah. Okay. So cool. The process finished. We can open this up and view it on the block scanner. So here's that transaction that we just ran through 32 seconds ago. I can also just view this in Crossmint. And if you this is a public repository we have that you can check out. I'll show you real quick. Like if you go to our docs, scroll down to NFT checkout, embedded checkout, and do this quick start. This is actually, I basically used this as a starting point and just changed out the project ID and collection ID. So you could build this exact same setup, for your own collection. Let me jump back here. Okay, so I clicked viewed in Crossmint. I can view it right there. You can, the user could then transfer it out of Crossmint, no problem. Or even if they minted directly to a wallet, you could still open it here so that they could view it easily. Let's see. So that's the end-to-end process. And I mean, we've been on this call 20 minutes. It's actually a little longer than I expected, but even with me talking and everything, you deployed a collection, set up the template so that you can mint the NFT, and test it out 2 ways to sell those NFTs with credit cards. So it's pretty slick. You can make it all happen quite fast. There's even an even faster version where we have this no-code storefront. And so you can, like right in the console, enable a storefront. And whoops. So that would be one option. It's like, say you don't have a minting site at all and you just like want to get something online, we'll host that for you. Now let's talk about, so, these are a lot of the ways that you can build like front-end experience for customers. I think one of the most compelling things for NFTs is actually, more transactional stuff, like say receipts or tracking products in a way that is, using an open protocol. So in this case, it would be more a backend system that would be creating the NFT rather than based on user interactions. Maybe they're taking some other interactions and then your backend system is minting them NFTs on behalf, or maybe it's a loyalty program. And when your backend system detects that, they've bought 5 boba teas from you, you want to issue them some sort of gamified NFT to reward them for that. So let's look at some of the ways that we can use the APIs to do this kind of thing. So we'll jump over here to the Mint NFT API endpoint. And all right, I got my API. I think I need to grab the same. So let me grab the collection ID because I'm going to need that. And then go get my other API key. All right, so here we go. And what we're going to do is I want to mint using the template ID. So there's a very hidden little feature here, but notice like when you're using our APIs, sometimes you have options here, like there's a set of options here. Here we can either like set the specific metadata right in the API call, or we can actually just pass it a template ID because we've already configured that. Let me go back to my collection, grab the template ID. All right, there we go. Okay, so I can grab the template ID right here, set that there. And then let's go ahead and this time we'll mint it directly to a wallet, just so you can see what that looks like. Whenever you're working with these APIs, if you have a question on the property, you can just mouse over this to kind of get a look at it. But so in this case, we're going to mint directly to an address. So I put the chain label right there, and then the actual address. Same thing, we do not need to re-upload the file, so I'm going to set that to false. And now I'm essentially doing the same thing. I'm minting an NFT, but I'm doing it via API. One key difference you might notice here is like I didn't pay anything, right? And so there are some cases where you'll sort of have both payments and this type of airdropping approach. The reason that I'm able to do this is because I have an API key associated with the project. So not anybody could just call this API and mint your NFTs. It's definitely protected and requires authorization via the API key. So let's go ahead and show you how actually that's not super interesting. So anyways, I've minted an NFT and we could let's go. Actually, yeah, we'll check the usage on that. So I'm going to scroll down to this other API to get the action status. And I'm going to have to grab this again real quick. All right, so this API is used to get status updates on all sorts of things that we do, because a lot of the stuff is asynchronous. There's some time passes, and so we want to be able to let it fire off and not have you waiting on a response. It's kind of running slow right now, so I'll get one other API call set up that we want to show you, and then we'll be basically done to turn it back to questions. So, okay, we can see the NFT was created. Grab the transaction ID. We can come back here to the block scanner and see that there's the other NFT that we just minted. So the last API I want to show you, I'm going to do get NFTs from wallet. And so let's see here. So this is going to be Z Kyoto. I pasted the contract address in there. Let me grab my wallet address again. And we'll just do 3. So you can use this API. Let's say you've minted an NFT for somebody. The person's logged back into your application. This is an API we offer so that you can easily get the metadata for that wallet. So you know your user's wallet address, which chain you want to get the NFTs for. You can call this API and we can see this is one of the NFTs that we minted on this call this morning so far. So those are the main topics I wanted to cover. As you can see, there's a whole host of other APIs available that we didn't even get a chance to touch on. We're even working on another thing I didn't talk about is that we also offer cross-chain checkout. I think I mentioned it briefly, but in addition to using credit cards to purchase NFTs, you can also purchase with Ethereum on other chains. We're adding support to do that with USDC and even some meme coins very soon. So lots to come along, coming along there. Let me close this so I can stop sharing. Let me make this a little bigger so I can see it. There we go.
There we go.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Danny. We do have some questions that appeared, but before I'll let you finish, what else were you enabling? Because I got excited when I heard cross-chain.
Yeah, so cross-chain payments, which, like I was saying, it'll let you, say you have, when Base came out last year, you were stoked, you bridged a bunch of Ethereum over there, and now it's just chilling. You don't want to bridge it back. You can pay for NFTs on a variety of chains with that Ethereum that's already sitting there, as well as say Optimism and I think Zora. Pretty soon, pretty much all the chains that you saw in that import collection will have support for those pretty soon. And then the last thing I'll mention is I showed you 2 NFT checkout products, the button, the embedded checkout. The most exciting one that I'm working on a ton right now, even doing this call right now is definitely getting in the way of my work this week. No problem. I'm stoked to be here. But we're releasing the headless version of our checkout. So no UI, total control for the developer, which will enable really cool things being able to set up purchase flows in AR headsets, or hopefully on gaming platforms and things like this, where maybe you don't have access to React libraries and the whole web browser interface. You'll be able to build this stuff just using APIs, which is really exciting.
So I could be in my metaverse on, let's say, Astar, on Cosmize, as it's called, and just make purchases right out the gate from there, correct?
Totally. Assuming, you have a developer implementing that. There's some, but we're getting there. It's going to be pretty sick.
That is sick. I thought the implementations. Oh no, I'm excited for that. The cross-chain one, it really interests me because that's the talk of the town now, right? All these L2s, bridging. Who wants to deal with that all the time? Pay those fees. and NFTs is what the community strives to get to. No, that's super
Totally.
exciting. Thanks again, Danny. No, I'm super excited for the updates, and I'll be following you for sure, and perhaps even using it with some of our partners here at Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple questions that showed up. Any regional restrictions on using, I guess, some of the products?
Yeah, good question. So the restrictions will more come from like the buyers, right? So for the fiat checkout under the hood, we're using Stripe. And so Stripe has to adhere to any sort of regulations where, say, there's certain countries that are like not allowed to do business. Like I don't know if Russia is still one of them, but like when the whole Ukraine Russia thing kicked off, like that affected a few countries. Like we even Stripe wasn't accepting credit cards from even Ukraine at some point. So
Mhm.
if you have typical issues like that would be the first like regional restriction. But in terms of like Crossmint, we don't regionally restrict anybody to use the tools.
Cool. Okay, great. Some other products that Crossmint has, wallets, minting, checkout UIs, and identity. Can you speak about any of those and any limitations they have?
Yeah, for sure. So we spent a lot of time focused on the checkout UIs and checkout products. And then sort of there's a little bit of overlap between those and say wallets and minting. So
Mhm.
we also spent a little bit of time looking at the minting tools, and what that mostly is like all these APIs, right? Like create a collection, edit the collection, mint NFTs within it, edit those, burn them, add royalties, all of these completely through APIs, so that the idea being that there are millions of web application developers and an estimated tens of thousands of blockchain developers. But all these web app developers know how to use REST APIs. And so the idea behind the minting and the wallet APIs is it gives all of these millions of devs access to tools that you would need typically blockchain experience to build this out. And nowadays it's like even if you're a super sick Solidity dev and like you love deploying contracts and you get it, there's still so many tools that you have to tie together to like make it all work. Like, oh, I need somebody to get the metadata. And now I gotta I want it to be resilient. So like if it fails, like I can keep retrying. So a big part of what like our minting and wallet tools is like tie all of that together so that you can just create an account at Crossmint and not, be paying Alchemy or Simple Hash and AWS and like all these other people and then stitching it all together.
Yeah.
So let's see, limitations. I would say the main thing with so to create and deploy collections, like it deploys our contract, that it is based on Open Zeppelin. So it's a resilient and robust contract. But like one limitation that comes to mind is it doesn't accept a quantity parameter. And so like you can mint one NFT at a time with it. Like it's purposely as simple as possible. But I do run into a few cases where people, for obvious reasons, they want to mint multiple at the same time. And so our contract doesn't fulfill that yet. I think it's on the roadmap in next current quarter that we'll work on it. So in that case, you would have to deploy your own contract. And then if you wanted to, like we do offer an API to register third-party contracts, but because it does require like enterprise access, because it gives you a lot of power, where if anybody could register any contract, like it puts us at some risk. And so typically there's like some sort of agreement in place. Like we curate that API access. Like you can't even see it in the console. But if you're, a company working with us, it's something that we definitely have access to. In terms of wallets, the wallet that we talked about today is a custodial wallet, right? So we really bill it as an NFT wallet, which means primarily don't send Ethereum to it or like don't send meme coins to it, because for the most part, like, I mean, unless you make some just tragic mistake, like we'll help you out. But for the most part, like if you send some random stuff to your wallet, like we're not going to go out of our way to give it back to you, like, because it's just a ton of hassle, really more than anything. So like the custodial wallet is an NFT wallet. It's not meant for fungible tokens, but we are like this close to, I've been saying that forever, releasing like an account abstraction wallet that does unlock these type of features. So you can have like the really nice UX NFT experience, but also offer fungible token support. And like, without digging into that too much right now, like that will be, I think, what is really going to be killing it towards the second half of this year. We already have, I'd say, 2 or 3 providers that are like we've been working really closely with for a few months. Like they're really trying it out and beta testing it. And so like a cool video game, a lot of loyalty programs that are using it where the rewards come back in fungible tokens, things like that. So that will be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that does sound pretty good. Just a
Last
quick
thing real
question.
quick. I just
Oh, go
noticed the
ahead.
identity one.
Yeah,
So around identity, we do have another product it's basically out and available called verifiable credentials. It uses NFTs under the hood, but is also built on the W3C standard for verifiable credentials, which is like a whole set of like kind of agreed upon ideas on how to handle this type of stuff. So that's a deep product that's tough to get into details on. If you have like some specific questions about identity, like definitely reach out. If you ask questions in our Discord, 99% chance it'll be me, unless you ask next week when I'm on vacation.
Perfect. Now you mentioned the simple contract, right? The one allowing 1 minute at a time. So besides the team, bringing their own contract in there for the NFTs, is there any other smart standards besides ERC 721 that's on the roadmap that you're looking at?
So yeah, we support 1155s as well. And
Okay.
let's say, for example, like, I don't know if ThirdWeb has the Kyoto support or ZK, Astar ZK EVM support or not. I think they do. So if you're comfortable with ThirdWeb and you deploy one of their common NFT contracts, you can just come and register that with us. Like, so you don't have to necessarily write a custom contract to be able to unlock these extra features. So basically, almost any NFT contract, like you can register with Crossmint. I say any, like I've definitely come across devs who do some insane stuff and like it doesn't work. But if you have like a sane NFT contract, like you can register it with us, and the process to register is pretty smooth.
Okay, so no insane contracts with the super gas savings and who knows what else.
You know what? It's actually like the most recent thing is like the super gas expensive contract that somebody like it was doing just madness. It was like, and so it was hitting like block gas limit stuff, and it just wouldn't work.
No way.
But then he got it to work. He took all that out, changed some things. It worked.
Okay, cool. Okay, so in combination with ThirdWeb, sounds good. Yeah, and we do have them available at Astor as well. That's awesome. Let's see. Do you have any programs to support developers to build with Crossmint?
That's a great question. So, like, we don't have. I think this is something that we'd like to get into more. Is like this year earlier, I think in February, I got to go to the Tree Hacks at Stanford, which is like a hackathon, and so the support that we really offered is like, obviously you throw in some prizes to like get people to build with your tools, but it's mostly just having like 3 or 4 of us there to come like ask questions and hang out with. And I mean, I was sitting there like helping people build their projects if they're using Crossmint. And then you can join our Discord and ask questions. Like it's basically a support forum. It's probably the best place to get developer support. I think our docs are pretty fantastic. So like docs.crossmint.com is, pretty solid, but like, we don't really at this point have a lot of like monetary support programs for developers. But definitely tech support. And let's see, like hacking events, like there's nothing on my radar right now. For a while, we were kind of doing an office hours in our Discord that was a lot of fun. And I was thinking today, like in advance of this, that maybe we'll bring that back. For the most part, man, like if you have an interesting question or an interesting problem, like connect with me either in our Discord or like straight up LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. And I'm sure I'll be able to answer your question or like connect you with the right person.
Awesome. That's great. Just seeing how the movement is, at least here at Astar, we're trying to get those enterprises to go into the adoption phase with the masses and making it as easy as possible, including paying with your credit card is just the obvious road to take. So I think there's going to be a lot more questions and interested teams to enable this. And for me, let's see, I don't see any more major questions. I do want to ask what was your favorite sort of integration so far, which team? Because I've seen Snoop Dogg, I've seen like some of the big names. So if you could
Totally.
educate some of our users on some of your favorites or memorable ones, because it just goes to show, for me at least, that Crossmint has made that strive into that field and making and continuously doing it too.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny, like we do get to work with a lot of like pretty big brands and even celebrities and stuff, but unfortunately, like Snoop Dogg isn't on the call. So he's got people doing the work for him.
Right.
Same thing with some of the other big brands and celebrities we've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, let's see. This is a weird one because like I'm not into high fashion or anything. I think it's kind of silly. But
Right.
we've been working on this project for a while with a fashion brand called Brunello Cucinelli. That is, I don't know if they're embedding NFC. No, I think it's just a tag they add. But like they sell like really high end stuff. Like $1,500 blazer and stuff. And they're come with like a tag that's a QR code that basically mints an NFT. And like they're actually doing some kind of cool stuff where it, like, if I bought a $1,500 jacket and like it got a little rip in it, I would definitely go get it fixed. And so there's like this maintenance NFT and like kind of just an example of like I'm cool NFT, and like they're tracking the whole process. And so there's all this like providence that comes with the stuff, which makes sense. So maybe one that would like get me, and there are some we work with a few people doing stuff, is like really cool Nike shoes. That's something where it's like you get, look at these, like I'm not wearing them today, but like look at these ones type of thing. Those are the kind of things that I think are fun. But like I mentioned a little bit in the beginning, a lot of these projects are fun and exciting and like cool. But my real personal long-term vision in NFTs is that like they'll just be ubiquitous. Like I think everything will be an NFT at some point. Like when you go buy a Red Bull at the gas station, your receipt will be an NFT. When you pay your electric bill, like that will be an NFT. And this is also kind of nerdy, but like I'm kind of hyper focused on budgeting right now because like I want financial security, and the only way to do that is like know how much I'm spending versus how much I'm making. And it can be really annoying to like try and pull this together, especially if you use different credit cards for rewards and stuff. Like, 1 week American Express, like they're not reporting the transactions well, and so like it's not showing up in your budgeting app like you expect. And once everything is an NFT, I don't have to like rely on some third-party budget application maker to like have a good deal with American Express or for Plaid, who does a lot of this type of work, to have everything working. Like it's all a freaking NFT. So I mean, then we'll be dealing with like the 10,000 blockchains problem, but it's a step in the right direction.
Right, but as you mentioned before too, if I could just stay on my little cozy spot here and make cross transactions, like cross transactions, then I'm a happy camper. I 1,000% agree with you. Everything will be NFTs. Everything, even the hour we spent here today, will be on chain and made it as an NFT I could prove that I worked with Danny today. So yeah, I agree.
Exactly. So that's the type of stuff that like excites me.
Yes, no, I totally agree with you. And hence why these tools, for our audience listening, these tools are important, not just to keep track, personally, to keep track and seeing the innovation behind it and how much easier it's making it for my grandma. But it also goes to tracking to see which teams we want to work with, and also push forward towards those enterprises that are reaching out to us, because we're just a smart contract platform, right? So we guide them into say, hey, this is what we used and we've used before with our previous campaign. Check it out, and this is the innovation they're going after. Danny, thanks so much again. Any last words you want to leave with the community?
Yeah, I mean, like for the devs on the call, like just keep building. And Crossmint enables a lot of really cool tools. Like I'm fortunate to get to work for, like it's so easy to demo Crossmint stuff. When these type of opportunities for these calls come up, I'm like, I just know that it's going to show well, it's fun. And so if you're building stuff, like definitely look into adding what Crossmint has. And if you have a question, like, hey, you get stuck, dude, we're on it in Discord. We're happy to help support you. Aside from that, you can find me personally on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm not much of a poster. I'm more of a social media consumer than like creator, but happy to link up with you there and talk about whatever you're building.
Awesome. Danny, thank you once again. Crossmint team, thanks so much for everything you're building out for the developers and for the communities and my grandma. So we'll see you again and and thanks for this one on the record books. Next time it'll be an NFT, obviously. Right?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Danny. Have a good
Later,
one.
Lee.
Bye-bye. And thank you, audience, for chiming in. And